This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Be sure to stick around to the end of the video to find out how SuperCarlinBrothers and Squarespace can help you follow your dream. Hey brother! Jay, we have spent the last 2 years dissecting The Force Awakens, reading all of the comic books and all of the untold backstories, going frame by frame through every trailer before The Last Jedi came out, and finally, we have it. 2 hours and 33 minutes of new Star Wars canon. And what do we have? So many more questions! Today we go through the top 7 unanswered questions from The Last Jedi. Hey, brother! Let's dive right on in with number 7. Did you know that Mark Hamill is actually credited twice in this movie? Yeah, he actually plays 2 different characters. The first one is Luke Skywalker. You probably knew that one. But the second one is like the little alien that we see on Canto Bight that's feeding coins into BB-8 because he thinks he's a slot machine. And as we see later, like a lot of coins apparently. But apparently Mark Hamill saw Andy Serkis working with like the mocap technology in his portrayal of Snoke and wanted to give it a try. Number 6, C-3PO's arm. Again. Somehow! Jay, you may remember why his arm was such a big question in The Force Awakens. Now, thanks to the C-3PO comic, we actually know how he got his red arm, and it's actually very heartfelt. It's kind of a tribute to one of his fellow fallen droids. But fun fact, and despite how much we've gone through the movie, he had actually had it replaced before the end of The Force Awakens. It's actually kind of bizarre. In the closing minutes of the movie, when I assumed that basically no time had passed at all, we actually see him with the red arm, and then moments later, gold arm again. This may suggest that Rey spent more time on that rebel base than we realized, but would not exactly explain how she hadn't met Poe yet. Number 5, once again we find ourselves asking, is Captain Phasma still alive? Forever, I have been convinced that the reason why they cast such a great actress in Gwendoline Christie is that eventually we would see Captain Phasma portrayed helmetless. And both times so far, we have seen Phasma, the coolest looking stormtrooper ever, do hardly anything even at all. I mean, well, not nothing. She does kick Finn's butt, whose current record in hand-to-hand combat right now is 0-4. Stormtrooper Kylo Ren, Rose, Phasma. This has to catch up with him eventually, right? I mean, he should have died 3 times in that movie. But back to Phasma. Finally, she shows up. Finally, she's a part of something and promptly dies, or appears to have died. I mean, yes, we do see her like fall into a pit of flames, but last time she was trapped in a trash compactor on a planet that exploded, so who knows? And I do think it's worth noting that just before she falls into that pit of flames, we see just how powerful her armor is after Rose shoots her with a blaster and it just like pings off. Plus, the movie does give us the slightest glimpse of what is under the mask, so maybe in the next movie we will see like a helmetless Phasma with like a really badly burned face. Number 4, how on earth will the Resistance ever rebuild? And who is Broom Boy? So if you remember in Rogue One, we have like the small ragtag group of rebels go in to try to take over one Imperial base to steal the Death Star plans. That is about the size of the entirety of the remaining members of the Resistance. They can all fit on the Millennium Falcon. It's not that big, no matter what Han Solo says. But seriously though, we even see during the Battle of Krayt, Leia sends out her personal code and receives no help in response. So who is left out there in the galaxy still willing to help? Although there does still, of course, remain Broom Boy, or according to the Last Jedi Visual Dictionary, Tamiri Blag? Great name. Blag. Blag. You can't say it without making that Blag. Blag is seen right at the end of the movie and shows the littlest spark of hope for the Resistance when he flashes the ring that Rose gave him. And of course, right before that, casually force pulls a broom to himself. Blag actually is a name that we've seen before, like in the deepest of cuts. He was actually one of the officers that was involved with the initial interrogation of Leia in A New Hope. It's hard to say if we're gonna see this specific character again, but I have a feeling if we do, he will be identified by that ring. Number 3, what is going to happen with Leia? Honestly, I personally believe that there was like 2 different really good missed opportunities to have Leia just die in this film. The first, of course, is right after Kylo decides not to kill his mother, but his 2 henchmen do the job for him, blasting the cabin she's in and basically thrusting her into space, and then she does the weird space flight thing. It would have worked so well. It prevented Kylo from fully forming an allegiance to the dark side of the Force, and his mother's death would have come at the hands of the First Order. It just would have been very poetic. Or they could have had her insist that Holdo, a character that I super liked, by the way, who had clearly mentored under Leia, go on the transport ships with the rest of the Resistance and then have Leia sacrifice herself by light speeding through Snoke's ship. Actually, I loved that scene. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Why kill off a character you just spent an entire movie developing instead of Leia, who could have gone out in an awesomely heroic way? Either way, Leia survives the movie and continues her fight against the First Order, but how will they continue without Carrie Fisher? I wonder if the next movie will like start at her funeral and that will serve as an additional spark to help drive the Resistance. On the other hand though, I absolutely believe we will see Mark Hamill in the next movie as a Force ghost. Number 2, Rey's lightsaber, or should I say Kylo's lightsaber, or Luke's lightsaber? Definitely originally Anakin's lightsaber. This lightsaber, this one, the one that Rey and Kylo destroy in the Force pull tug of war. At the end of the movie, we see Rey holding the 2 broken bits of the lightsaber, and I am so excited to see what she rebuilds with it. Like, what will the hilt look like? Will the color be different? But the real question from this movie is, was this same lightsaber also Kylo Ren's? In The Last Jedi, we see these flashbacks to Luke attacking or deciding whether or not to attack Kylo Ren. Luke is holding his green lightsaber and Kylo, or Ben, is holding blue, but it's kind of hard to tell if it's the same lightsaber. But we may be able to deduce it out thanks to Rey's Force vision from The Force Awakens. Every place that vision takes her is also a place where that specific lightsaber once was. First in the Cloud City, where Luke first faces off with Vader, and then again in the forest where Rey will eventually face off with Kylo. And right in the middle is a scene where we now know that Luke and R2 are watching the burning Jedi Temple after his altercation with Ben Solo. It makes so much sense that if Luke did in fact find his old lightsaber, somehow, that he would give it to his nephew's grandfather's lightsaber. Also opens up the possibility that Kylo would take this lightsaber, his master's lightsaber, and corrupts it into this lightsaber. Which, in case you didn't notice, that green lightsaber is abundantly absent during the happenings of The Last Jedi. That is to say that it is absent during the present day happenings that are happening in The Last Jedi. And finally, number 1, again, Rey's parents. The movie really plays with us on this one, dangling the reveal right in front of us when Rey is in the darkness cave, for lack of a better term, on Ahch-To. We know that the greatest demon, the greatest pull that Rey has to the dark side is this internal struggle about her origins. We finally get an answer kind of in the movie when Kylo Ren, who absolutely had an ulterior motive, reveals that her parents were simply nobodies. It is really, really difficult to determine whether or not this is true. In fact, even going back to Empire, the writers specifically included a scene in Return of the Jedi where Yoda confirms that Vader is in fact Luke's father because they were worried that the audience wouldn't believe Vader's claim. We kind of have to grapple with the same question here. Is this true? Are they actually no one? Going back to Rey's Force vision in The Force Awakens, if that lightsaber is in fact everywhere she sees in the vision, it means that it was there when Rey was abandoned on Jakku. That bit of evidence seems to suggest team not nobody. I am fairly convinced after seeing this movie that Luke is not in fact her father, or at the very least doesn't know it, because after all, Vader didn't know that his children or child even survived at all. Personally, I don't believe that she's Luke's daughter, and if she's not Luke's daughter, then does it really matter who they are? In my personal opinion, the movie offers the most credence to the idea that Rey was born of the Force, that her parents were nobodies, that they sold her for drinking money, that they were simply junkers. It would fit with Maz's comment in The Force Awakens, "They're never coming back." And Anakin Skywalker was born of the Force, and who was his mother? A really, really, really sweet lady and a slave. And nobody. And also, in case you forgot, Anakin went on to be pretty dang powerful with the Force. We even get an explanation from Snoke himself, who says that as Kylo's power grew, he knew that the light counterpart would grow as well, which just suggests this idea that the Force itself will aim to balance itself. My theory is that after Anakin Skywalker died, the Force manifested itself again in Rey, and that is how she can be so powerful and also come from nothing. Guys, for my question of the day, what are your thoughts? Do you have answers to any of the questions? Leave your thoughts in the towel section down below. Also guys, Jay and I get to live out our dream job, making videos on YouTube about our favorite movies and characters. And if you have ever had that same dream of pursuing a career online, whether it's your own web store, your own blog, or just your very own unique web presence, we may have a way to help. In a special partnership with Squarespace, we are offering a $1,000 grant to someone who creates a new web-based project. It's very simple. All you have to use is one of their ready-to-go, all-in-one, gorgeous templates to create a web page on Squarespace. We will carefully select from the pages that are created and send a check for $1,000 to help you on your way. Head to squarespace.com to start your free trial, and when you're ready to go to squarespace.com/SCB to get 10% off your first order. Guys, one of the best decisions I ever made was starting this YouTube channel. It allows me to live my dream career. It allows me to work with my brother on a day-to-day basis. I highly encourage you to take some time to think about a project you've always wanted to pursue and allow us to help you along the way. If you aren't selected this time, don't give up hope. This won't be your last opportunity. Guys, as always, thanks for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you'd like to see our complete review of The Last Jedi, it is a doozy, but you can click right here. Or if you'd like to support us on Patreon, we have lots of cool ways of interacting with you guys directly. You can click right here. But Jay, that's all I've got for you today, man. I will see you on Tuesday.